Hey everybody, this is Dr. Connie Cheung with a functional yoga medicine podcast where we help you to integrate the fragmented pieces of the puzzle together so that you can be an empowering practitioner that you were meant to be. I know that's why you're here. And if you're here, please subscribe to our channel. Please write us a review, and as well as to follow us and share our podcast. And you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Connie Cheung and Functional Yoga Medicine as well. So today I want to talk to you guys about the key missing ingredient that's preventing you from getting your patients the results that they want. And I just want to say, as a patient, there was a lot of realization that I had recently. And it's not about patient-practitioner relationship so much as is really, it's all about being human, right? A lot of the times I think we divide our profession with lots of oughts and shoulds and musts, and because we're so dictated by the rules and regulations. And we live in a litigious society. And so we're always thinking about the legality of things, right? So when we do that, I feel like we lose sight of who's really in front of us. So I'll sort of share my personal story of my realization and understanding my doctor and that interaction, but also some things that really triggered me to where it will forever be etched in my mind. And it did hurt me, and it made me realize a lot of the things as a patient as well. And so these are the things that I want to share with you, because I really do feel like if you are dealing with a patient like me, who's in a dire situation with, whether it be with autoimmunity or car wreck or any other mechanical or physiological or chronic illness issues, we have the, I guess, obligation to serve our patients the best way we can. And I just want to make sure that you guys are practitioners that are thinking outside the bounds of what we get taught in school, because in school, I think we get so much didactic information of theory and physiology and all the black and white research-based, scientific, data-driven evidence, so much so that we lose sight of the humanity or humility or the human nature of what humans go through, because that spectrum of feelings that we experience, so to speak, as being humans is something that we have to understand, especially when we face obstacles. It's much like the health crisis that some of our patients face, right? And so it's all about understanding that your expertise might be only a piece of the puzzle, and always understanding that there is a bigger element of your patients. And really the greatest gift that you can give them is to understand that and know your limits, and to embrace that, and to really direct your patient in the manner that you need to. But part of what I see is a lot of referrals going out because we're all sort of experts in one field or another. And within the conventional medical setting, even in health and wellness, like I see a lot of yoga teachers getting integrative nutrition certified. Lots of physicians are now open to nutrition, especially in the realm of functional medicine. A lot of physicians who have no didactic nutritional background is now all of a sudden paying attention to nutrition, as food is medicine and people want holistic options. And it's not enough for us to deliver these kinds of interventions or recommendations or prescriptions only an hour a week, or within a 3-month period we might see them for 90 minutes in the case of functional medicine. And if you're a integrative or not integrative, conventional medical doctor, it's 15 minutes at most, right? And that's what the insurance pays for. And so you're severely limited in your ability to really create rapport and really guide them where they need to go. And truth be told, a lot of physicians aren't equipped with proper nutrition knowledge. And even with nutrition knowledge, nutritional science is fairly new science. And so a lot of people have confusions about it. And I've been studying nutrition since 1990s, where I got my master's degree in nutrition, and I followed a lot of different theories and concepts in nutrition. And let me tell you, pendulum swing. Like fat-free was the way to go back in the 90s, and now it's all about the full fat. And so people are on keto eating bacon and they think it's okay. Versus you would talk to a dietitian back in the 90s, we would tell you, no, 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 no. And so when you take out the fat, you replace it with sugar. And so that sugar was bad. And so now that concept of fat-free is like considered really, really bad. And so now they're thinking, oh my gosh, full fat is good. And that's the way to go. And then now there's a plant-based movement of lots of vegans out there, but not vegan. And when you talk about processed meats and processed foods, veganism has much more processing in to replace what they're missing in their protein sources, like eggs, just egg. And then there's different variables or variations of like fake meat. What do you think that's made out of, you guys? Even though it's made out of pea protein or some other plant-based proteins, it's still heavily, heavily processed. And so I just want you to recognize some of the logical, common sense things, that it's not all about one way or the other, one dogma to the other. You have to embrace all of it, right? And let me tell you, there's so many theories going around. And so today I just want to really, really want to tune in to you and ask you, have you ever felt like your expertise is really limiting your ability to help your patients get real results? Whether you're a pharmacist, a doctor, physical therapist, nutritionist, yoga teacher, or personal trainer, you have to understand that there is an overlap of these different modalities in a human life. We have to move. We have to have functional mobility, right? And then if we don't have healthy nutrition, we can't support the functional mobility. And if we go long enough without proper nutrition, we get sick. And so now we need a doctor. And we have to kind of know how all this comes together. And so the answer isn't about your expertise so much as is really stepping out of your expertise to think about what actually is human wellness and prevention and health and longevity. Where does that sort of secret lie, right? And so you have to understand that we all have to have a healthy diet. We all have to have healthy dose of movement, and we have to have a healthy mindset, stress management, and it's the lifestyle. What are you going to do to get all those things in, to make sure you're doing all the things? So I believe in today's climate, the best thing you can do is to really teach patients how to live their life. So it's like lifestyle medicine for longevity and health. And so yoga teachers, as well as Pilates teachers, it really doesn't matter. Personal trainers, physical therapists, doctors, nutritionists, all things needs to come together to sort of make sense for the patient who's living their day to day. Don't think in terms of your patient so much as it's just like you. You need healthy nutrition. Do you know what that healthy nutrition looks like? Do you really believe you have optimal nutrition? Are you moving on a daily, day-to-day basis? And if you're not moving, are you expecting your patients to comply with what you're recommending? Do you look and feel your part? Do you feel healthy? Do you know what it feels like to be sick? Without you understanding these things and applying it in your own life, it's really hard to teach that and expect your patients to follow. And really, today's climate with the social media, you guys, we really have to be the example of what's possible. And so it starts with you. And I just want to put that responsibility to you. And I just want you to understand that when acutely sick, we're trying to find out the cause. And this may be the way to go. But I'd say most of the time, it's up to one practitioner to truly help patients who are already overwhelmed and struggling. Because what happens in the conventional setting, they feel off. They go to the physician or an expert or whoever to try to figure it out. But every expert stays in their domain and then thinks that the problem is within their domain and try to fix it that way. And so the patient is left to tie the nutritional piece together with the physical medicine piece with their underlying diagnoses with the physician. And so you guys referring out is really creating havoc and confusion in the patient. And the patient is left, okay, I have to piece all this together to make it work in my lifestyle. So nobody asks, what do you do? What are your obstacles? Well, I'm a mom of four and I have three under the age of 6. I have to cook every single day, make sure I meet their needs, drive them all to their social activities or extracurricular activities, mind their grades, as well as support the husband who works, and then, stay and keep the house. And so there's a lot of stress. And then you're asking them to exercise, eat healthy. All these things are off, over their head, and you can't understand as a practitioner why they can't comply. But if you look at your own life, you understand as a mom, as a spouse, or as a dad, as a practitioner, as a business owner, whatever, what roles you play, that all these things are the same, right? And so here's why I say the integration is key. Because listen, I had a episode of diverticulitis many years ago. And ever since then, every few years, I have to get a colonoscopy to clear myself because I have a history of that, right? It was the most painful experience ever. And the only thing the GI doctor could do for me was the colonoscopy, as well as provide me with antibiotics, right? And she didn't really have much to offer in the way of diet to prevent whatever it is, because they don't really understand it, right? They might, and this one really didn't have the resource to really refer me out to a nutritionist. But imagine if I did go out to the nutritionist. Nutritionists are under what do you call it, the physician, and so they have to comply within the bureaucracy of the medical system. And so if they don't have any functional medicine training, they won't look anywhere else, and they'll just straight up give you a diet that is completely void of the person's culture and preference and her lifestyle, and is expected to follow through with a certain way of eating. And that's really hard to swallow for the patient. So you really have to understand like some bits and pieces of it. I'm not expecting you to be an expert at diverticulitis, for example, but you have to understand as human beings what's healthy for your body, right? I'm talking about the principles of health, like what keeps a body health and, having longevity. It's all about stress management. It's all about your ability to be happy and content, finding joy and gratitude no matter what, but understanding that there are obstacles in life and how we can weave through and dance with life instead of being stuck in this negative mindset. We can pull up, and how we get them to do that. All those things all come together for optimal patient compliance. And really, at the end of the day, as practitioners, that's all we can ask for, right? Whether you're a physical therapist, you want them to comply with the exercises. You're a nutritionist, you want them to comply with the nutrition prescription. You want them to be self-empowered, so it's not all up on you. But oftentimes we find as practitioners, we miss the mark. And I used to feel this way for so long because I didn't have what's called a coaching skill to be able to get them from one state to another where they can be motivated and inspired to help themselves. And once that switch goes on, boy, does things change for them. And I want that for them. And I want that for you. And I want you to understand what that feels like, right? Because diet alone may not solve the problem. Even if it's a GI, you might be stooped over. The patient might be stooped over and contracted, and she's not moving. And so she became sedentary and everything became stuck. When you talk about energy, right? Autonomic nervous system and the spine, when you're flexed forward, guess what? You get stuck. And this person might come to a yoga class and expecting best results. But if you can't guide them through the fundamentals of getting that unstuck and getting them into their head of gently moving their spine back, the counter force, to have a counter effective effect, that spinal gentle rotation can stimulate both the ascending, descending, as well as the transverse colon to move the bowel, as well as to stimulate the autonomic nervous system, specifically the vagal nerve. These are all concepts that we should all know as practitioners, whether you're a yoga teacher, nutritionist, or you're a doctor, because everybody has these issues. And that's why you really need to know the practical things. And I really want you to really be well equipped to understand how all things come together, that we're all like complex human beings and everything comes together, as opposed to really tearing things apart to look at it deeper and going into our own respective rabbit holes. That doesn't really help the patients, right? When you look at dogs, for example, I take my dog for a walk every day because unless I do that, they won't have a bowel movement. And so I know many of your patients are constipated, going to yoga class again, asking you for some prescription, and there's a lot of detoxification that needs to occur, but liver gets lazy, kidneys, and all the essential organs slow down when you don't move. And so it's simple things like that. You can guide them, right? We're the same way as the dogs, and not like, I'm not comparing ourselves to the dog, but I'm saying movement, nutrition, mindset, and we have spirituality as well as emotions that guide every part of our behaviors. So start looking at your patients as a whole and make sure that you are able to tie together all the missing pieces to enable you to actually coach them through where they are and why they should be where they want to go. Unless that hooks in for them and your patients have a identity shift and real desire and passion is like, lighted for them, nothing is going to get them where they need to go. Because let's face it, you guys, we can follow directions for a while, but it gets old. We get into our own old self ways, and those habits are really hard to break. And we need to recognize that, not only for us, for our patients as well. So I hope this was helpful. And if you like this practical advice, I want to invite you to a free functional yoga medicine training that I'll be hosting in June. I want you to click the link below and sign up right away for lots of freebies and breakthroughs that you can have immediately. In fact, when you do sign up, so that you can really leverage this practical knowledge in a seamless and easy way to really up level your clinical results. And guess what? More clinical results, more patients means more revenue for you. You don't have to struggle with hours and hours of digging into a rabbit hole trying to figure out the details of it, because I find in 22 years of my clinical practice, as well as living with autoimmunity, struggling with my own health, is it's not in the details so much as it is in overall lifestyle that the patients can support to support what you're doing. So it has to be a integrative and really partnership that you develop with your patients. And there's no better way to do that than you understanding the essence and the true empowering source, which is your ability to coach your patients through and looking at them as a whole, putting all the broken pieces of the puzzle together so they feel whole again. And really, it's at the most edifying part of your clinical practice is to have those lifelong results where the patients can truly transform to be the best version of themselves. So again, come hang out with me at Instagram at Dr. Connie Cheung, as well as to subscribe to our podcast. And I would love to see you in my free functional yoga medicine training. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all next week.